Welcome to another episode of Stand Out Weekly. And what we are going to look into today are the direct messaging strategy that you can and probably also should use on LinkedIn. The reason why I decided to use this or talk about this strategy today is that I sent so many direct messages last week, and the most common responses I got were crickets, like no response at all. Um, Thumbs up, an okay, or thanks. And these were from people that had registered for my masterclass. So I was sending out links to the replay so that they didn't miss on that one. And I think that there is so much cringe around sending direct messages, and people might also not really know how to do it in a good way. And let's be honest, you constantly get like these cringe direct messages too, where you're like, oh, just rolling your eyes, and you're like, oh, I wish I didn't receive that one. So let me just quickly go through five of them. I wouldn't say rules, but they probably are a little bit like rules that I follow and that I think you should consider to follow too. So my name is Josephine Warner. I'm a former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and business growth strategist. And I use LinkedIn as my main social media hub because I really love to connect with people. And you can only connect with people either when you meet up with them, that can be a Zoom meeting or that can be an in real life meeting, but you can also really connect with people in the direct messages. So the first one is before we actually start connecting, and by the way, maybe that is also important to mention that you can only send direct messages to your first connections, meaning the people that you are connected with. So the first point that we need to cover, or that we will cover then, is when you send a connection request, what to do then. So if, by the way, if you're watching this live with me, make sure you add a comment so that I see that you're here live with me. If you're watching the replay of this, you can always ask your question in the replay too, and I will be able to pick up on it because I do see the comments that come in. So anyways, when you send a direct message, so if you have the free account on LinkedIn, you are capped to the number of direct messages that you can send together with your connection request. So what do you do then when you're out of DMs to send with your connection request? Well, you follow up later, right? You can always go into your connections and see who you connected with the last time, and then you send them a DM. That just shows normal interest in people, not that you're collecting connections like Pokemon cards, right? And I know I have a couple of such DMs that I need to send out myself. So sending a connection request, getting it accepted, and then you start the conversation. Same thing when you receive a connection request for someone. What I like to do then is I check out the profile first, and I try to see if we have something in common. Like earlier today, this morning, I had gotten a connection request, and the person had also worked at KPMG, like I had worked at KPMG. That's a perfect kind of like commonality that we have. Then I said, well, as a former KPMG or KPMG alumni, I'm super excited to be connected with you. So you start like a little bit like a cocktail party conversations, right? Do not go straight into the pitch, right? I will cover how to share resources too, like in the next step, but don't go straight into the pitch. What you do then is you actually totally ruin the relationship that you are able to build up. Because let's be real here, like most of your connections on LinkedIn are not your ideal clients, right? And there are so many other opportunities. You can be invited to be a podcast guest where their audience might be your ideal clients, right? You might get a referral from someone. If you then pitch to that referral immediately, what does that signal, right? Or you can be connected through someone else and they connect you, and then you pitch them. So stop direct pitching, because you don't even know if that person has the problem that you would love to help them to solve, or that they are even aware of having that problem, right? So start the conversation, be like a normal person, and start talking to the people. What I also like to do is, because sometimes we forget who sent the connection request and who did you get it from. So I always say in my very first connection acceptance, I say, hey, so and so, thank you so much for sending me the connection request. So that it's clear that that person was the person who actually reached out to me first. So those are the first two, like sending a connection request and receiving a connection request. Those are the first two. Number three, so when you start a conversation, how many times have you received the question, how is your LinkedIn journey going? Or what are your challenges? Or what is your next goal for the next, I don't know, 3 months, 90 days, or whatever? Those, we know those, right? Treat your connections like the smart people that they actually are. Don't try to bake in like hidden, trying to figure out if they really have the problem that you want to solve. But rather say, like, you can comment on something either from the profile, maybe something that stood out to you, or you can comment, maybe you have some shared background that you can pick up on, like I mentioned before, the KPMG background, for example. Or maybe they have posted about something that you found really interesting. Maybe you attended an event, both of you, and then you can ask, did you attend the event? What did you think about the event? What were your key takeaways? Start a little bit broader, right? Be interested, be curious about the person. That's the way to go. So then we have, those were the first three, and then we have, I actually have three. So, well, let's make that number four then. So sharing resources. And with sharing resources, I mean sharing your freebies, sharing invitations to your workshops, sharing links to your homepage. Do not assume that people really want to receive those resources, but always ask first, right? Never, also don't just say, oh, hey, thank you so much for your connection request, and bam, here is the link to my homepage. What should I do with that, right? So always ask, and I think here it's also depending on the conversation that you just had. Have they expressed an interest in something that you might have? Maybe you come across an article from someone else that you think, oh, I actually thought about Anna when I got that article. Then I absolutely think that you can share that with Anna, or whatever the person's name is. Because when it's genuine, right? When it's a genuine share, then that we can feel that. Let's assume someone has registered for an event that you have set up on LinkedIn. Can you then share the registration link for the real event? Because usually we don't. This is a little bit complicated, but when you host an event on LinkedIn, there is a very high probability that you lose those connections. However, when you then have the event outside of LinkedIn and you have a landing page, etc., then you can pull the audience there, and then I think you can absolutely share the link there, because if you don't do it, they will miss out on the opportunity to attend the event that they have actually raised their hand to do, right? So make sure that you share the links when the person has shown an interest for it, right? Then you can absolutely share it. And thinking in terms of, is this relevant to what we have been talking about? Does this make sense for this person? And as I mentioned, don't just assume that they want that, right? When we talk about events and invitations to events, the context is really key. And I'm not referring to, when you set up an event on LinkedIn and then you can invite 1,000 connections per week. You don't have the possibility there to actually personalize the invites. So people then get the invitation automatically. You just pick the 1,000 one week and then 1,000 next week and then another 1,000 the third week, for example. What I would do afterwards, to those that have actually said yes going to that event, then make sure that you follow up with them with a direct message, maybe asking them what their expectations is of the event, maybe asking them about that particular topic, what their main challenges is, so that you then can tailor the event to their exact needs. So you start the conversation then to the people who have raised their hands to going in to that event. Last number. So now I actually realize I have 6 points, but the last number is, okay, so how do we then do the sales in the direct messages? Because I think that is what this whole kind of like interest is about. Well, when you have connected with the people first, when you have start building a relationship, you really know that that person has a challenge that you want to help them to solve, then we can start moving into the sales DM. So that it means that when the timing is right, is this a long-winded process? Yes, it absolutely can be, which is why selling low ticket offers in the DMs is not the best choice, right? That is also why I love hosting webinars and masterclasses, because those who have raised their hand to be in my masterclass or be in my webinar, there I can start having a conversation a little bit faster with them. Is this something of interest to you? Is this something that you would want to help me to solve, right? Do not pitch cold, as I mentioned, because you will ruin, or you can ruin, the relationship. If someone says, hey, I saw what you're doing there and I'm really interested in that, then of course you can extend an invitation to that person. You don't need to then take the round and say, exactly, I know I'm at 6, Rachel. So I think, well, I will comment on that one in a second. So Rachel actually commented here and she said, you said 3, but you're already at 6, Jasmine. Yes, and this is my last one. So I'm doing it a little bit faster here than I expected. But anyways, so when someone expresses an interest, then you can absolutely invite them. So I want that mindset shift to also happen, to think in terms of not pitching. We are inviting people to actually help them to get their problem solved. So if they say yes, then you can invite them to a call, or you can share the link to the offer that you're having, or whatever. Depends a little bit on how you want to sell. Also depends a little bit on the ticket, I would say. If it's a lower to medium ticket, absolutely send the link to offer. Maybe they want to see the offer first and then have a call with you. So you need to talk to the person like a normal person, like you would do in a store too. Usually we talk to the people even when we are in a store, except we do the automated checkout, right? And this one, the last one, is super important. What do you do when you get a no, right? Because that will happen. So the more no's you get to, the faster you will get to a yes too. So when you get a no, don't weird out. Don't just ignore the person. Don't just ghost the person. Because how many times have you said no, right? I say no all the time. If you say no, then sorry, not if you say no. If the person says no, then you can say, totally understand, maybe the timing is not right. What I've done too, if I've had a call with a person, I then actually say, I will come back to you in September or August or whenever they mentioned before that would be a better time for them. And then you need to remember to actually get back to them too. Respond to a no, independently of what type of no it is, because that will leave the door open. If you don't respond to a no, and yes, sometimes we do forget to respond to the DMs, and the world will not go under for it, but always respond even to a no, because that will even strengthen the relationship with you, right? So Angela says here too, I love the engagement creating an event creates all the amazing conversations. Yes, because that is also, we get to share what it is that we do and how we do it with more number of people at the same time. So I actually have something for you today if you are interested in that, and that is what I call my Grow Your LinkedIn Audience course. I lovingly call her Julia. So Grow Your LinkedIn Audience course is a do-it-yourself course, step by step. It mainly focuses on profile optimization, because they can really go through do this, do that. There are best practices in there. There are not exercises, but templates in there. There are instructions how you do your banner, for example, how you do your about section. Everything that you need to change and update on your LinkedIn profile, including an engagement checklist, because it's not only about having an amazing profile, it's about the full package. So what I cover inside of Julia too is DM strategy with clear examples of how you can do it, how you can start a conversation, for example, and also connection and engagement strategy. So Angela has added the link on Facebook. I will add the link on YouTube too, so that you can check it out if you want to. And we will add the link on on LinkedIn too, because this is not really, I guess you could type this one in. That is the disadvantage with when you have checkout pages. This is not a fancy sales page. What you see is a checkout page. It only includes what you get inside of the course, and you get to keep it forever. So that was actually it for today. If you are watching the replay of this, make sure you add your questions underneath so that we can pick up on them. If you have any ideas about or thoughts, oh, I really would love Josephine to talk about this particular topic, make sure you add those suggestions then too, because this direct message suggestion actually came from one of the viewers a couple of weeks ago, and also based on the experience I did last week. So thank you so much for being here with me today, and I hope to see you soon again. Bye, bye-bye. And I hope to see you inside of Julia too, by the way. Bye-bye.